That's not a second sun. It's the flash from a cosmic rifle, and we are the target. Welcome to the Purple Files. If you enjoy our videos, please consider subscribing to the channel. Let's get right into it. It begins with the death of a familiar giant. For centuries, humanity has looked up at the constellation of Orion and seen the distinct reddish glow of Betelgeuse, a red supergiant star on the cusp of its own demise. A colossal bloated ball of fire, more than 700 times the width of our own sun. It has long been a celestial time bomb, ticking away silently some 550 light-years from our world. Astronomers knew it would one day explode, but one day in cosmic terms felt comfortably distant, a problem for a future civilization 1,000 centuries from now. They were wrong. The bomb went off 550 years ago, and the sentence for our world was signed, sealed, and delivered across the interstellar void. The first confirmation is not a public spectacle, but a quiet, chilling realization in the hushed, sterile environments of our most advanced observatories. An automated alert system, designed to track minute changes in stellar brightness, begins to flood the inboxes of astrophysicists. The data is nonsensical, impossible. Betelgeuse, the reliable angry red giant, has begun a process of brightening so rapid, so geometrically explosive, that the algorithms flag it as an error. But it is not an error. In the cold mountain air of the Atacama Desert and atop the dormant volcanoes of Hawaii, telescopes are swiveled to stare at the unfolding catastrophe. The astronomers watch, their blood running cold as they witness the first few hours of a supernova, an event that humanity was never meant to see this close to home. The secret is kept for as long as possible, a frantic, desperate attempt by governments and scientific bodies to understand what cannot be stopped. They know what is coming. They know that the initial, beautiful light is just the prelude. Within 48 hours, the secret is irrelevant. The new light in the sky is no longer the domain of scientists. It becomes a global phenomenon. It starts as a point of light brighter than any other star, a stunning celestial diamond that captures the imagination of the world. But it doesn't stop. By the third day, it is a shimmering, brilliant beacon, clearly visible in the mid-afternoon. A tiny, fierce companion to our own sun. The world is mesmerized. News channels run 24-hour coverage. Social media explodes with images and videos of the guest star. It is a moment of profound shared wonder. People gather on rooftops and in parks, their faces turned upwards in awe, completely oblivious to the fact that they are admiring the muzzle flash of a cosmic weapon aimed directly at them. They are celebrating a spectacle of light, unaware that it is the herald of a wave of unimaginable energy that will boil the oceans and set the sky itself on fire. Before the first lethal photon of light reaches our world, the ghost arrives. The very first product of the star's death is not light, but a phantom. In the first few seconds of the core's collapse, as protons and electrons are crushed together under unimaginable gravity to form neutrons, an incomprehensible number of particles called neutrinos are born. 100 times more energy is released in this single 10-second neutrino burst than our own sun will radiate over its entire 10 billion year lifetime. These particles, having almost no mass and no electric charge, are barely part of our reality. They stream out of the dying star's core at nearly the speed of light, unimpeded by the star's own outer layers, outracing the slower shockwave of light by several hours. They are the silent, invisible tsunami that washes over the Earth first. This wave of particles is not a trickle. It is a deluge of biblical proportions. For the few hours that the neutrino front passes through our solar system, every single square centimeter of the Earth's surface is pierced by trillions of them every second. A torrent of these ghost particles is passing through your body right now as you stand looking at the sky. They pass through the steel and concrete of our cities, through the dense rock of the continents, and through the iron core of the planet itself, as if none of it were there. There is no feeling, no sound, no hint that this cosmic flood is occurring. Our senses, our very biology, are completely blind to this fundamental aspect of the universe's power. It is the perfect, undetectable warning shot. But we are not entirely blind. Deep beneath the mountains of Japan, shielded by a kilometer of solid rock, lies the Super Kamiokande Observatory. It is a colossal cathedral of science, a tank containing 50,000 tons of perfectly pure, clear water, lined with more than 11,000 golden photomultiplier tubes, each one a hypersensitive electronic eye. And in this deep, silent place, the alarm is sounded. As the neutrino wave passes through, an infinitesimally small fraction of those trillions of particles, a few hundred of them, happen to strike the nucleus of a water molecule. The collision produces a faint, ghostly cone of blue light, a phenomenon known as Cherenkov radiation. To the senses, it is not faint, it is a sudden, frantic storm of light flashes inside the tank. The data streams to the surface, and the scientists see it. Neutrino detection spikes so massive, so far beyond the background noise of the sun, that it can mean only one thing: a supernova core collapse has occurred, and it is terrifyingly close. For these few dozen people, the awe is replaced by a cold, professional dread. They are the only people on Earth who know for certain that the countdown is over. The real blast is on its way. The first true blow to our world is delivered with the speed of light, and it is completely invisible. It is the universe's ultimate kill shot, a gamma-ray burst. If we are unlucky, if the dying star's axis of rotation was aimed at us like a rifle barrel, then the supernova's collapse would have focused its energy into two narrow, hyper-concentrated jets of pure death. This beam of high-energy gamma radiation is so powerful that for the 10 to 30 seconds it lasts, it can outshine all the 100 billion stars of the Milky Way galaxy combined. It is a focused blast of energy so extreme that it warps the very fabric of physics. And now, after a 550-year journey, it strikes the sun-facing side of our planet. There is no flash, no explosion. The energy is of a wavelength far too high for our eyes to see, but its effect on the upper atmosphere is immediate, violent, and catastrophic. The gamma photons, each one a microscopic bullet of immense power, slam into the stable, life-giving molecules of nitrogen and oxygen that form our air. The impacts are so violent, they physically shred these molecules, stripping away their electrons and breaking their chemical bonds. This ionization process kicks off a devastating chain reaction. The newly freed, highly reactive nitrogen and oxygen atoms recombine into a toxic cocktail of nitrogen oxides. In less than a minute, a vast planetary-scale chemical burn takes place 50 miles above the surface. The most immediate consequence is the complete and utter annihilation of our ozone layer. The newly formed nitrogen oxides are a ruthlessly efficient catalyst for ozone destruction. A single molecule of nitrogen oxide can destroy thousands of ozone molecules, and the gamma-ray burst has just created trillions of tons of it. The side of the planet hit by the burst has its ozone shield effectively sandblasted out of existence. Globally, more than 70% of our protection from ultraviolet radiation is gone in the time it takes to draw a breath. We have been stripped naked, our planetary immune system shattered, just moments before the arrival of the main fever. The sky above now holds a hidden reddish-brown haze of poison, a chemical scar marking the spot where the death beam hit. Now the main event arrives. Hours after the silent chemical violence of the gamma-ray burst, the primary wave of electromagnetic radiation, the visible light, reaches Earth. It is not a gradual dawn, it is an instantaneous, brutal transition. One moment the world is lit by a single sun, the next it is lit by two. The supernova, even from this immense distance, ignites in our sky with a brilliance that defies all logic. It is not a star. It is a hole burned in the fabric of the day, a searing blue-white furnace that is hundreds of times brighter than our own sun. It shines with the light of billions of stars, focused into a single, terrifying point. The concept of night is immediately and permanently erased from the planet. The hemisphere facing the supernova is plunged into a perpetual, shadowless, hyper-illuminated day. The psychological impact is shattering, but the physical impact is far worse. This is not just light, it is a tidal wave of raw energy, an unceasing thermal bombardment on a planetary scale. The temperature on the surface of the sunlit side begins to climb, not by degrees, but by dozens of degrees every minute. The very ground begins to cook. The world ignites. In the great forests of the Amazon and the Congo, the intense radiation dries the moisture from the leaves in seconds. The sap inside the trees begins to boil, and then, in a terrifying cascading eruption, entire continents of forest burst into flame. It is not a fire that spreads, it is a fire that simply happens everywhere at once. In the cities, the focused light turns glass windows into lenses, setting fire to homes and offices from the inside. The asphalt on the roads softens, then liquefies into black, bubbling tar. Anyone caught in the open is subjected to a thermal blast that causes catastrophic burns in less than a second. The light is so intense it is a physical force, a pressure wave of photons that carries with it an apocalyptic heat. The sky is no longer blue. It is a solid, blinding wall of incandescent white, a celestial blast furnace from which there is no shade, no shelter, and no possible escape. The long, agonizing process of Earth's sterilization has begun. The initial onslaught of light and radiation was just the vanguard. The true body of the supernova, the physical remnant of the star itself, has been traveling much slower. For months, or perhaps even a few years after the initial flash, a colossal wave of matter, known as the supernova remnant, has been expanding outwards, a ragged, chaotic shell of gas and dust, moving at a fraction of the speed of light. This is not just hydrogen and helium. This is a toxic cloud of heavy elements, forged in the final, violent moments of the star's life. It is a wave of carbon, oxygen, silicon, and iron. But it is also laced with a deadly payload of newly created radioactive isotopes, unstable atoms that are ticking time bombs of radiation, destined to decay over thousands of years. This cosmic tsunami is now bearing down on our solar system. The first line of defense is our sun's own magnetic field, the heliosphere, which creates a protective bubble around the planets. The impact of the supernova remnant against this shield would be a spectacular, silent battle in the void. The collision would create a brilliant shock front, a bow shock, that would light up the outer solar system. But the sheer density and energy of the supernova's ejector would be too much. It would compress, overwhelm, and finally breach the heliosphere. Once inside the solar system, the wave of matter slams into Earth's own magnetosphere. The planet's magnetic shield, which normally protects us from the solar wind, is violently compressed and deformed. On the surface, this triggers the most intense aurora ever witnessed, a sky-spanning light show of shimmering curtains that covers the entire globe, from the poles to the equator. But this is not a beautiful display. It is the site of our final shield failing. The radioactive particles and heavy elements begin to funnel down the magnetic field lines, pouring into our already devastated upper atmosphere. As the initial blinding light of the supernova begins to fade over the weeks and months, the true long-term horror begins. The planet is now living under a curse. The ozone layer, our shield against the ultraviolet radiation from our own sun, is gone. It was shredded by the initial gamma-ray burst, and the chemical poisons introduced into the atmosphere prevent it from reforming. Now every sunrise is a death sentence. The sun is no longer a life-giving star, it is a source of intense, sterilizing ultraviolet radiation. The UVB and UVC rays, normally stopped by the ozone high above, now reach the surface with their full, unfiltered intensity. This radiation is a powerful mutagen. It shatters DNA molecules, causing cancers, mutations, and cell death in any living thing it touches. On land, any surviving plant life quickly withers and dies, its cellular machinery destroyed by the relentless radiation. Animals that survive the initial burning now face a world where the sunlight itself is poison. To be caught in the open during the day is to be slowly, painfully cooked by radiation, developing catastrophic cancers and burns. Life is driven into hiding, forced to become nocturnal or to seek shelter deep underground or underwater. Simultaneously, the vast quantities of soot and dust thrown into the atmosphere from the global fires, combined with the newly arrived supernova dust, begin to block out the sun's light. The world is plunged into a chilling, semi-permanent twilight. This creates a grim paradox. The surface is a dark, freezing world, yet it is still being bombarded by invisible, deadly ultraviolet rays. This is the long night, a new ice age where the very air is cold, but the sunlight is a killing curse. The chemical warfare against our planet is not over. The trillions of tons of nitrogen oxides created by the gamma-ray burst are still lingering in the stratosphere. These molecules now begin to mix with the massive quantities of water vapor that were boiled off the oceans during the initial heat blast. A simple, terrible chemical reaction occurs on a global scale. The nitrogen oxides and water combine to form nitric acid. Then it begins to rain. But this is not life-giving water. It is a corrosive, diluted acid. For years, potentially for decades, the planet is subjected to a continuous, global acid rain event. The rain that falls from the sky has the pH of vinegar or even lower. It strips the leaves from any surviving trees and poisons the soil, making it impossible for new life to grow. This acid rain washes over the continents, dissolving rock and metal. Statues, buildings, and the ruins of human civilization are slowly eaten away, their surfaces pitted and scarred by the corrosive downpour. The acid flows into rivers and lakes, and ultimately into the oceans, triggering a catastrophic drop in the water's pH. The very chemistry of the oceans begins to change. This process, known as ocean acidification, is fatal to the bedrock of marine life. The shells of creatures like plankton, corals, and mollusks, which are made of calcium carbonate, literally begin to dissolve in the newly acidic water. The foundation of the entire marine food web is wiped out, leading to a mass extinction event in the seas that rivals the devastation on land. Now the final blow is delivered. The radioactive isotopes carried in by the supernova shockwave, which have been settling in the upper atmosphere, now begin to fall to the surface. This is the ultimate fallout. The entire planet is dusted with long-lived radioactive elements, turning the soil, the water, and every surface into a low-level radioactive hazard. The great dying accelerates. Life on Earth is now trapped in an impossible gauntlet. If the initial fires didn't burn it, the UV radiation from the sun would kill it. If it hid from the sun, the acid rain would poison it. And if it somehow survived all of that, the pervasive radioactivity in the environment would corrupt its DNA, ensuring its eventual death through cancer or sterile mutation. The food chain collapses completely. On land with no plants, the herbivores starve. With no herbivores, the carnivores follow. In the sea, the death of the plankton means the starvation of everything that depends on it, from small fish to the great whales. The intricate web of life, built up over billions of years, is unraveled in the space of a few decades. The only survivors are the extremophiles, simple, hardy organisms like bacteria and archaea, living deep underground in rock fissures or clustered around hydrothermal vents on the ocean floor, shielded from the horrors of the surface world by miles of rock and water. They are the only life that can endure this new, hostile Earth. Imagine standing on the surface of this new Earth, 1,000 years after the supernova. The sky is a pale, sickly orange, a thin, toxic atmosphere still choked with nitrogen compounds and dust. The sun is a dim, hazy disk, its light struggling to pierce the perpetual gloom. The supernova itself is now a magnificent, expanding nebula in the sky, a beautiful, ghostly flower of gas and dust, a cosmic tombstone visible to a world with no eyes left to see it. The surface is a silent, windswept desert of radioactive dust and crumbling rock. The oceans are acidic, sterile pools, devoid of all but the simplest microbial life. The great forests are gone, replaced by petrified stumps. The skeletons of the cities are jagged ruins, scoured clean by acid rain and wind. It is a world reset, to zero. Life in its most tenacious form might persist deep underground, beginning the slow, multi-million-year process of evolution once again, but the Earth as we knew it is gone forever. It has become a monument, a chilling testament to the raw, indiscriminate power of the cosmos. A planet that was once a vibrant, blue-green jewel, now a barren, poisoned rock, a silent victim of a star that died a long, long time ago. And that is it. If you've enjoyed this video, please consider subscribing to the Purple Files, click the like button, and drop a comment down below. More videos to come, and until then, thanks for watching.